Yeah, it just started the recording, so that you can rewatch this session once we have uploaded it to the Eurosite YouTube channel, which should happen in the next few days. If you have any questions to the panelists, and you're very much invited to ask them direct questions, please send them through the Q&A button that you find probably on the bottom of your screen in the Zoom. We have turned off your microphone and the cameras, but we will share the videos and the microphones with all the panelists, obviously. So with that, I'll ask my colleague Stancy to start the first slide. Thank you very much. So welcome. On behalf of Eurosite, I'm Tilman Disselhoff. I work for the Nature and Biodiversity Conservation Union, which is the German association NABU. We are a partner and member of Eurosite. I am the president of the board of Eurosite at this moment. Obviously, we are deeply concerned about the developments in the Ukraine, the attack and the war that has been launched by Russia on Ukraine. And so we reached out to our member and partners in the Ukraine to have them tell us what this means for them, what their situation looks like right now. And also to talk about the environmental dimension of the war and the battles that are ongoing and the destruction. So with that, I'm welcoming Yulia Bondarenko of the Ukrainian Society for the Protection of Birds. Yulia, if you can share your screen now so people can see you. And welcome also to Natalia Kulya from the Institute of Ecological and Religious Studies, our Ukrainian partner, NABU partner, Bogdan Prots from the Danube Carpathian program, and Ivan Timofeyev from our Ukrainian NABU office. These are our panelists today, and I'll be moderating. I'll ask them questions, and we will hopefully have a very free-flowing conversation with them. But you are very much invited as audience to also ask your direct questions. This is the chance for us to talk to our colleagues and friends in the Ukraine directly and hear from them what they are going through at this moment. Without further ado, let's get going. We have about 1 hour for this conversation. So let's do a round to start, and I'll start with you, Yulia, if that is okay. Just tell us how the war is affecting you. Where are you at this moment? Where are you calling from? And what is your situation like?
Hello, everyone. I left my country a week ago with my son. And I now in Marki, it's near the Warsaw, Poland. It really was a difficult decision to leave the country, but I should have feel safe than to go out from Kiev. It really affects, war always affects people, and really affects me. It was tough time. It's now a tough time, of course. About the environmental condition, or should I continue with my personal?
Yeah, let's just first do a round and hear where everyone is calling from, and then we'll enter this discussion of the environmental conditions. But good to hear that you're in safety with your son, and you're in Poland at the moment. Okay.
Thank you.
Natalia, where are you right now?
I'm in Uzhhorod, in Ukraine.
That's in the southwest of Ukraine.
It's the most western part.
And what's the situation there right now?
The situation is calm. It's the most safest region in the country, and we have no active hostilities. So the task of our region, our people, our communities is to welcome the persons who are living from the north, from the east of the country, and to help those who are in need.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Ivan, I believe you're also in Uzhhorod, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, so I'm Ivan Timofeyev, and I'm also from German Nature Conservation Union, and I'm currently in Ukraine. I went for my vacation, and because of the war, I stayed here to support our Ukrainian partners and to fulfill the tasks that are needed.
Hmm. And Bogdan, where are you calling from?
I'm in Lviv. So this is one of the now volunteers hub for our military and for refugee support. So we have many people from east and south of Ukraine. Despite many people even left the city, but they are very dynamic. It's still coming Syrians, even in such city, which is about 500 kilometers from Kyiv, but it's anyway, we have certain missiles hit near Lviv, and about 100 people been killed and several hundred wounded. For the training facility been hit 2 days ago. I actually can say our city now looks quite differently. So it's like a big ants house when everybody doing something, many volunteers, which is supporting this different stuff. And so it's a constantly moving. Many people talking, you can feel the war on the street. This is in eyes of people. This is, you can hear fragments of language, what they are talking on telephone. So it's quite feeling. My family mostly was with me, but they are now, when we have some information when it's becoming risky, I bring them 100 kilometers to the mountain, our mountain house in the Carpathians. But when they are back, they are all working. So son is 16 years old, and he is going to pick up humanitarian aid with friends and helping. And my wife helping with refugee to resettle them, how that is possible.
Hmm.
So that is actually quite dynamic situation. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so from what I understand is that basically you are somewhere in between, your routine life has been shattered, but you are not immediately affected by the war, but rather by the effects in other parts of the countries, because you're more on the western side of the country. But is there, what I'm wondering is there still something like a routine? Can your organization still function at this point in time, or is everything upset and are you just, in a state of emergency constantly? What does your everyday life look like at this moment? Maybe Natalia, you can say something about that.
Yes. The war affects our ordinary life and our routines. So we cannot fulfill our activities and tasks in full as it was before February 24. And it's about everyday fight for working mood. So you should concentrate on the work, as if we will upset, it will be very hard to start again. And it requires many efforts to be strong, to be calm, and to do our best. What we can do, how we can help army from the one side, and how can we help here in our native towns to help those who are in need.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is probably very similar to what Bogdan described, that you're receiving refugees at this moment, and
Yeah.
your organization is probably busy with that. And
exactly, we are trying to work with refugees, with children. We try to make some master classes, to draw, to make some events for children, just to make for a few, I don't know, hours more happy times, to forget about all this horror, about this nightmare. We are trying to share our coloring books, to share our fairy tales, to talk with children, and to help in such a way as we can.
Mm. And do you have any information about your colleagues in other cities in the Ukraine? I know, Yulia, you originally are from Kiev, if I'm not mistaken. Do you have any contact to your partners?
Yes, I am in constant contact with the dear director of our organization, Oleg Dudkin. Also, I know that all my colleagues are safe, thanks God. But our colleague from Polessia, from the northern part of the country, are in the heart of the war. So they have, one of our colleagues sometimes have no light and water in her house. And the roads also are not safe, so they cannot move out from the region. But they now are safe. I don't know how to say it, but they are alive and they stay at their home.
Mm-hmm. So good to hear that. Ivan, do you have any information about NABU project partners and other protected area staff that we work with?
Yeah, so from our project, our mission is mostly has a focal point in Carpathians. That's the most calmest region now. So all the national parks are trying further to do their work. Many of the parks are also hosting refugees in their buildings. They try to make the life of people as much comfortable as it's possible right now. So as I've already mentioned, we have 3 partners in Ukraine, and most of them, all of them are in Carpathian region. And the projects that we had, for example, pit restoration, it's in Irshava district of Transcarpathian region. Then the barn owl project that we supported also is in Transcarpathia region. So now I know that most of my colleagues, we stopped the activities of the project, and we try to help the refugees and try to do as much in humanitarian way as we can. That's why our organization has also started the appeal for funding to support our Ukrainian partners and to be able to help them to support the people that are now coming to our region. Yeah. Just a small statistics that previously there was 150,000 people only in our city, Uzhhorod, and in last 22 days of the war, there is 35,000 people more only in our city, and most of them, more than 16,000, that's children. So I think that's why we want to focus our help on children.
Mm-hmm. From news reports that we get, you know, from the Ukraine, from the international media, journalists that are still stationed there on Twitter, for me, there's a very impressive sense of solidarity and unity right now in Ukraine, and it seems that this moment brings people together despite you know, everyday differences or so, and is that something that you would confirm that this is happening, or is this just this impression we get in the media? Maybe whoever wants to answer this.
I would just add for you just to understand how united our society is. So due to the recent survey, more than 92% of people, they think that we will win. More than 80% are ready even to take a weapon and protect our land. More than 80%, they are participating in any kind of volunteering. If it's a humanitarian way, if it's a cyber way, any way of volunteering. So I think Ukraine has never been so united as it is now.
Yeah. Bogdan, I know that your organization has also, shown a lot of flexibility, let's say, in reacting to this crisis, and you've started humanitarian work with the Transcarpathian program. You were doing a bit of, community development work and these kind of things as part of the conservation activities that you were doing before, but now it's in the centers of your attention, obviously. Can you tell us a bit how that works? What your work day, if you have one, looks like?
So I just can tell you, it's now the normal life is changed completely. Almost all our projects are frozen now, except few. This few provide higher flexibility on financing, but it is clear it's just basic support for the team and lower requirement for reporting. But what we decided to do from the first day, so we had the meeting after 24th, everything started. We changed from nature conservation activity mainly to humanitarian support. Until the war is over, so we just provide the most needed support for people, children, supplies, and to tackle most urgent life-threatening human cases. So we tried to raise money. We raised already up to now over 20,000 euro, and we provide these different points. So with the first, it's a hospital support for wounded soldiers and civilians. It's a medicine, food, etc. We support people in shelters, especially for besieged cities. It's like Chernihiv. How it's going practically? We just buy or share, buying used car, and they are filled with needed first aid stuff, and someone is driving there and delivering this car. Then working with the children refugees and something like technical support, like drones. We target high technical drones, which would help refugee get out of bombing, find wounded, and actually these drones can show war crime evidences.
Yeah,
which is now is quite often happening.
Yeah.
So this is how our day life is going.
Yeah. And I mean, what you're saying now, I think that's important point, that you're receiving donations from various countries and organizations and people who want to help. And we'll come to that later, how people can help. It's very important for us to hear what we can do to support the Ukraine and your work right now. But I just want to point it out, and Ivan also mentioned that NABU is collecting donations on our NABU website for our partner organizations in Ukraine. Eurosite has done a fundraising campaign for the Transcarpathian program, and we'll share the information later on. But before we get to that, I think, Natalia, you had some photos that you wanted to share with us. Maybe this is a good moment.
If it is interesting for you, it's just a few photos. Yeah.
And Stancy, I don't know if you've received those photos. If so, you could share them on your screen. I think that's the best way to do it. Just give me a sign if that's possible. Otherwise, we can try with Natalia directly. Okay, one moment, she's saying. So let's be patient. Natalia, maybe you can already tell us what we will be seeing.
You will see our work, so what we are doing in general. So mostly we are working in the field of ecological education and changing of eco-behavior of local populations. Mostly we working with children and youth because it is the biggest value for locals, and it is the future generation of all the Carpathians. And our organization was created more than 10 years ago by the joint efforts of Renovables, General Environmental Foundation, and Ludwig Maximilian University. We have more than 10 years of experience in implementing project on eco-education, and we have implemented more than 10 projects together with NABU, together with Federal Foreign Office of Germany, Ludwig Maximilian University, Renovables, EU Commission on and all our projects aimed on eco-education. And the interesting is that we involved to our activities church as a social institution due to the high level of trust of Ukrainian society to the church. So next, please, if you can. So where we are, as I said, we are located in Transcarpathia, in Uzhhorod. It's the most western and the most safe region in Ukraine now. So, and I prepared just a few photos from our activities with children. Next, please. So here you can see our main theme is protection of biodiversity, protection of historical natural heritage, protection of forest, climate change, second life of waste. So our staff, our volunteers, our employees organize for people different types of events, master classes, lectures, and we working with children in all Transcarpathian region. Next one, please. So, for example, it was event with Roma minorities in Transcarpathia. So we also pay much attention to such work, and this year we prepared a big project for the national minorities in Transcarpathia. I hope we will have a chance to realize it. It will be aimed on eco-education with different type of minorities in Transcarpathia, because we are a multinational region. There are Ukrainians here, Hungarians, Slovak, and big number of different nationalities. Next, please. And also we are working with clergy, with educators, as they are our multipliers. We provide a different type of seminars, roundtables on the theme of environmental protection. Next one, please. So, and also we are organizing local actions such as planting of trees together with bishops and clergy. Next one. So we prepare always a lot of materials. It's coloring books, it's fairy tales, it's different handbooks for educators. It's also church ecological calendar for locals. Next one, please. So, and we have prepared this year info stands on waste sorting and installed them in schools, kindergarten, and parishes in Transcarpathian region. Next one, please. So, but it's all about us. And now we have, next please, yeah, a lot of refugee, and among them there are a lot of children and women, and we are trying to organize some events for them, to involve them in some master classes. Next, please. So here you can see children with books. we do everything just to share all materials that we have in our office and to involve as much as we can. Next one. And here you can see a masterclass. It was cooking of soap and drawing for our soldiers. And we just draw with children. We just talking with them and trying to organize a little bit free nice time for them. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it's about our routine life now. I think it will be the next our part of conversation about the environmental pollution. Yeah? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Natalia. I think we can stop the screen sharing for now. Yeah, that's a very, very interesting illustration of how your life has changed over the last weeks, basically, and the work that you're doing now. What I would like to do now is focus our attention a bit on the environmental dimension that this war has. In the news have been dominated by concerns about the safety of the nuclear power plants in Ukraine, the fight for the old reactor in Chernobyl was obviously on the news, but also the other active power plants. That's a concern for obvious reasons, but I'm sure that there are many other aspects of this war where not only people suffer from, but also the environment and nature. And maybe we can talk about this a little bit. Bogdan, maybe if you want to start to share your thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you. Situation is quite interesting in many aspects. I would draw some kind of points which is really getting a big concern for the European community and for situation, how it's happening in Ukraine now. Copies of document which is our intelligence got, they are showing that Russia already canceled Ukraine as a separate independent country. Russian law prevail over Ukraine, and this is related about natural resources use. That it means about water, about forest, about nature conservation, etc. Recently was circulated letter from Shoigu to Putin on approval on use of forest. And if you read carefully this letter, you can understand they are writing about Ukraine and they intend to log forest for their use, and they work already in Ukraine within Russian legislation. So by law, they don't take into attention any Ukrainian legislation at all. That proved another point when Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant was occupied. Rus Energoatom announced what this power plant belongs to Russia during the meeting. So that is something which is providing this legislation fragment. Actually, Ukraine now started to record all these consequences on nature impact by Russian invasion. So this is doing not only NGOs but also Ukrainian ecological inspection. So they are now collecting all data which is showing different evidence, because I am sure someone need to pay for that. Some important conclusions which I considered during the last weeks are related to the nature conservation. more diverse nature, if we have the more in-country diverse nature, it's more harder for any invader to occupy the country. Because it's more difficult for them to penetrate from main road and to occupied countries. I can say about 1/4 of tanks and heavy armored vehicle, they've been stuck in wetlands, and they was not able really to move around because all mud was and wetlands was saturated with water. Then more protected areas, when you have in the country more protected areas, it's more easy to defend the country because the partisan movement is very efficient. So our troops, which is using approach 100 cuts, they are able to move around the country in the area and hit and cut time from time until enemy is losing blood and power. This is especially difficult for us with Mariupol because it's not possible to deblock Mariupol as 300 kilometers our troops, the closest location from Mariupol, and steppe is very flat area, is not possible to hide for our troops. About radiological situation, I'm getting from my colleagues from Kiev, and then they are getting some information internally from Chernobyl station. What radiological situation now up again to the normal. This jump on 24th, 25th, what was considered when Russian tanks moved through some highly contaminated area, and that it's moved dust into the air. Now it's up again to the normal. But radiological pollution or risk or threats is huge. On different stations, on Zaporizhia, they've been exploding number of the explosive elements near the Zaporizhia station, and they're keeping all the stuff under the like prisoners. And this makes situation difficult. We don't know how much people would maintain the safety situation. In general, if I would say on species and protected areas, this war is about to the cities and around cities, some villages. I would say they are not really inside of protected areas or for rare species, but definitely species escaping the war explosions, but mostly it's the war in the cities and around the cities. So that is most conclusion which I would be pointed how it's going. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone want to comment on what Bogdan said?
I would like just to add that because of that the war is inside the cities and mainly consists of taking the cities. So a lot of people that left escaped to other part of Ukraine or left to EU. Not all of them for the first days knew that they could take their animals with them. So now we also have another part of the problem, that there are many animals that are closed in the flats, in the houses, and they are starving, they don't have water, and there are even such organizations by us in Ukraine. It is called UA Animals. They done the operative groups, for example, in Kiev, that they move all around the Kiev, and if they receive the information that there are such animals that needs to be rescued or helped or saved, they are going there, they are breaking the doors and helping the animals. So that's the second issue that is really painful, because a lot of people, when they left, they escaped, and for the first day, it was not clear if without the documents they could take their pets with them. Only after, I think, third day, it was agreed and the new rules were in that there was no need to take the to have a passport for pets. So that's one problem that I can also mention. The second one, I can name it for our city. We always had a problem with trash, with recycling. And now when we received even more people that are also consuming, and also are there are a lot of NGOs that are now trying to cooperate and to feed all these people. And after all this process, for more than 35,000 people, there are even more trash coming. And we also have this problem that if it goes like this, in a few weeks, there will be nowhere to store it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, and I think, Natalia, you had a few slides in your presentation that refer to the same problem of.
Yes, exactly, because
yeah.
it's the biggest problem in Transcarpathia. It's waste management, because many settlements don't have the system of waste disposal, and now we will have a collapse in Transcarpathia. And also, what Ivan said about the problem that pets are starving in the closet flats. Also, there is a huge problem with the zoos in Kharkiv and Mykolaiv. Wild animals are also stressed and shocked, and they are also starving because zoos have no visitors, so no money for the food appropriate for the animals. So it's also a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
There was an appeal from a few of the zoos to book the tickets to support the people that are taking care of the animals and for buying food and helping out. And there was always also a few horrible stories already that in Kharkiv, where there is an eco park, Feldman, there were people that taking care of the animals and trying to feed them, and they got into the territory, but they couldn't leave because both of them were shot by Russian army.
Mm. Julia, I know in Kiev, obviously the bombardments from Russian artillery and so forth, the rockets are very heavy, and we've seen pictures of fuel depots being struck by that near the airports or in other parts of the outskirts of Kiev. Now, you said it's a war that is focused on the cities, but most of the Ukrainian larger cities are next to rivers or wetlands. So obviously, whatever happens there also affects the water system, the catchment area, and can cause immense environmental pollution on these water systems. So Yulia, do you know anything about that? What the situation is like in Kiev? Other places?
In Kiev, Kiev is some occasional, I don't know how to call occasional bombing that the television tower
yeah.
was bombed, and the main war actions are congregated along with the city, is the Kiev city, near the city, not the Kiev itself, but not Kiev itself, but suburban Bucha, yeah. Irpin, Gostomel. I know the names do not tell you anything. But
we're getting
it's around Kiev. They have also wetlands. The roads are not safe. The bridges are broken and exploded. So there is only, as far as I know, there is only one safe road from Kiev on Vasilkov region. I think it's a south Kiev, southwest. I'm not sure about concrete direction, but for the wetlands, I didn't see any news about water damage or water supply damage. It's just for the territory, for the small rivers such as the Irpin. It's also in the river near the Kiev Also, but we have a really net volunteer, very wide volunteer network, but these data for environmental pollution is to be collected by the scientists. It's to be collected by an expert. So our volunteers cannot give us the whole picture and the whole representative picture of what is happening. It could be seen afterwards. One
Right,
expert
yeah.
do the field work and say what is going on, what has happened because of war. There are some bombing in the city, in Kiev, of course. Some block, some living blocks, some houses were damaged. But almost Kiev is surrounded by war, but it's standing.
Yeah. If I will turn to some questions that came in from our viewers. Okay. Some are very concrete, and maybe we can discuss some of them later because they are so sensitive. But just in the fundamental question, can your organization still pay your staff the salaries of your employees? Or even Julia, if you're leaving now, if you're a fugitive now in Poland, how does that work? Do you still receive a salary, or what is the situation like?
We had the salary from the previous months, and we're now discussing the options, what to do if I work remotely. We would like to work remotely with my office. If everything in Kiev will stay the same, we could get to almost normal, I don't know how to almost normal routine work. We are planning to keep working when the connection between our workers will be more or less good, to have a meeting, because we don't have, sometimes we have bad connection with our northern part colleagues from northern part of Ukraine. So it's impossible to have a meeting when they are in basement, for example, fortunately. But we are still hoping to go to the routine work. That will be later.
There is a question about, and this is maybe something we can now focus on, how can American or European institution help to preserve Ukrainian biological collections? So that's natural history museums and zoological societies and so forth, for future generations of scientists. Is there anything that institutions from outside the Ukraine can do to support you? Bogdan.
I just can tell you, because I'm also have some head of department also in Natural History Museum. So our collection moved from the main point to the cellar for the moment, because and they are especially the most valuable. Someone which is not possible, they are now closed against explosions. How it's possible? We've got it from abroad already, some additional in case of the explosion and fire, automatical fire equipment which will stop fire, and that is the basic what for the moment we have done. What possible to do more, and then we making regular patrolling. So it means like besides we have police, we have territorial defense in the city, but also each one in the certain institutions also plays a role like on duty. So you might not be there, you have the staff which is on duty, but you need additional. So we some way like obliged to arrive within 1 hour when something happening. What else we need to think, what else possible in this, but the first things for all collections done on that basis.
I see. So that sounds to me like you are still functional in that sense, and you benefit from donations, obviously, that support your work. Again, a practical question: are you able to buy everything you need? Is that available, or are there shortages?
Exist number of points, Tilman, which is not possible already in Ukraine to buy. They are just already vanished from the market. Even in the neighboring country to Ukraine, they are not able to buy a number of things. So the most things we are buying even from Western Europe and trying in few days. So you would imagine everything is going more like you have the now refugees in Western or Central Europe, and through them we trying to get something, then they are collecting in one place, and then someone bringing to the border, and then over the border. Yeah. So this is a volunteer movement which is going besides American help, besides German help, besides UK help. So this is, and all this small flowing in going into the bigger flow. Then how it's working now. But some things taking a lot of for our people to get. I can tell you, for example, with drones, sometimes we spend a week to find even appropriate what we need, and then another half to get directly, because in Ukraine, we are not able now with the currency to pay directly abroad. This is the one of limitations. So we make like money compensation, pay some relatives in Ukraine, and then people abroad pay for this drone or some equipment to get it to Ukraine. So this is kind of schemes which we using to make this through this task. So it's so many difference in this situation.
But maybe also a question to the others. What do you think? How can people help? What can civil society organizations or individuals in Europe and beyond do to support you? Is there anything we can do?
I just can maybe continue. I'm sure colleagues got their ideas. And just I would say, because we was trying to raise money, and this money is needed. It's not big money actually, but it's a small amount which is altogether is going in at certain. So we can make, I just now received from my colleagues, they bought another car which is filled, and they got to Chernihiv to the people. So this is something working, but something special equipment like first aid kit, which is not possible to buy, but we need it very much for everything. For people, for territorial defense, for everybody. Even in protected area, they need to have this in some additional scale. So that would be, so something probably also to need accumulate some stuff abroad, and then to think how to get in small amount over the border with quick speed. That would make sense, because that makes in some way difficult.
Okay.
For us, it's taking too much time in this situation.
Yeah, no, the urgency is clear. It needs to happen fast. Yeah.
Sometimes which we are not fast enough, it's someone filling this gap, and it's not necessary. So you spend a few days on preparation, and then people say, no, sorry, we need another point because that is already over, or someone feel, or situation changed. So it's really fast moving.
Yeah. I know that there are a number of organizations in Germany and Poland and other neighboring countries to Ukraine who are self-organizing this kind of logistical help, like grassroots movement kind of help. And if there's anything we can do to support that, then let us know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can also hear from the others if they share that feeling. There's something else they think we could do to support Ivan?
I think that each person can support a lot. It all depends on the possibilities. So some people, for example, I am really grateful that all my colleagues from NABU, they joined the demonstration against the war. That also means a lot, because it puts a pressure on the governments. It shows that people are against the war, that they don't support all this Russian aggression, and it really helps a lot because with such pressure we can achieve more. And the most what we are praying for, it's for closing the sky over Ukraine with different methods, because it's not only involving all the NATO countries into this war, but there are a lot of other ways to do it. But that's what literally can help us. Support our army can also help a lot, because as soon as it ends, everything gets back to normal.
Julia, do you have anything to add, maybe from a perspective of what you're experiencing right now in Poland?
Talking about environment, we cannot now do anything on environment. We should know what happened to it. Always the main task is to halt the war, that it will stop, and then we could recover some areas, or to rehabilitate some, especially south and eastern regions of our country, as well as northern part, it's Polessia, and so that's regions that are mostly affected by war.
Okay, Natalia, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Now we cannot access all these damages and pollution and all these ecological catastrophes, because it's also about contamination of water, about contamination of land. It's about destroying cities and destroying all nature around it. And our first task is to stop it, because each day it brings us more suffering for people and for environment.
Okay, I will take a quick look at the remaining questions from the audience. There's one very concrete one about an ornithologist in the Dnieper region who'd like to leave the country to the west, but she has to bring her 19-year-old boy with her. Any advice on how that could be done safely without the young boy being taken to the military for service? I think this is something it's probably a bit sensitive to answer publicly. So I would propose that, and I won't name the person who has asked this question, I would propose that you send it to us via email, and we'll connect you to our panelists today, and they can talk to you then directly. I think that's probably wiser than to discuss this publicly. Then there was a question about precautions for a nuclear disaster, if there's any plans to conserve certain species or trees or anything. Is this something you can even contemplate right now, or what a disaster like that would look like, the effects on nature? I assume it's not, but Bogdan?
I just want to tell you, we are very lucky. We have the Chernobyl Biosphere Reserve around the Chernobyl station, which is not active, but they still reserve a large amount of nuclear material, which potentially could explode. And this 220,000 hectares is really would play the role of natural barrier, which would, in case of such explosion, would decrease the amount of pollution which would come around. Zaporizhia does not have a power plant, does not have such natural barrier, and that is, I would say, is a much higher concern even in such situation.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting aspect that you're mentioning there, Bogdan, that nature also plays a part as a, in terms of mitigating or reducing the risk coming from these kind of accidents, or also, as you said, for national defense and military questions of how an invading army can even move. That's something that maybe people don't think about it too much, that nature conservation also has a peacekeeping function sometimes.
Peacekeeping mission.
Peacekeeping mission, exactly. There's another very concrete question coming in. If you need personal capacity in Ukraine, I assume this means as support from people from outside the Ukraine coming to you, to either Lviv or Uzhhorod to help. Is that something that is?
I think there is no such need to risk as much for foreign people, because we have a lot of people that came from all parts of Ukraine now here, and they are all willing to help. They are all volunteering in any ways. So I think the best you can do is to support it from the place you are.
Okay, Bogdan?
I just can tell you, maybe you know, we have already military volunteers, about few thousand, which came from 16 countries of Europe for protect our country, to help. So this is experience in military soldiers, which been in army, someone more, someone less, but many of them came and joined our troops for fight. Many of them already very successful. We have seen Polish groups which been destroying many Russian vehicles. And I would say the same if someone feels from the volunteers to come. I'm sure people, I understood what Ivan said about safety. They should need, but it's a free will and a free world. They need consider all risk, and if they see, I would definitely welcome people to come.
Okay. And I think with that, we can conclude for today. I'd like to thank all of you again for spending this hour with us, and was hugely informative for me. Very good to see you all. I'm very happy that you're doing well considering the circumstances. I wish all the best to you. I hope that this war will end very soon and we'll get back to our very important work of conserving nature and the environment. And for that, I'll conclude for today. And Slava Ukraini.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.